Good afternoon, boys and girls. Please clear your desk of all objects except for your red correction pen and this morning's verb worksheet. Our essential question for today is, what is the difference between regular and irregular verbs? Have this question in the back of your mind while we look into this further and be able to answer it at the end of our lesson. The standard we are looking at today is ELACC 3L1, Section D, English Language Arts Common Core for 3rd grade, Language 1. Demonstrate command of the conventions of standard English grammar and usage when writing or speaking. Section D is form and use regular and irregular verbs, what we're looking at today. So remember to keep that essential question in the back of your mind. What is the difference between regular and irregular verbs? First thing that we need to look at is, what is a verb? We've studied these in previous lessons, but here's just a refresher. Verbs are words that show action. Some examples are run, jump, swing, play, go, and take. Verbs are things that you do. Can you give me some examples of some verbs? Right now, get out of your seat and run in place really fast. It's something you're doing. Can you jump high in the air? Jump for me. Jump, jump, jump. Can you take something from your neighbor? Can you take their paper next to you? Verbs are something that show action. It is a word that shows action. So now we're going to see what is the difference between regular and irregular verbs. But let's practice a little bit. This morning you completed a worksheet for morning work that had some verb practice on it. Let's go over these now as a class. Number 1. JJ ate the slice of cake. Which word in this sentence shows action? Ate. What did he eat? He ate the slice of cake. Ate is your verb. Number 2. We played tag at recess. What word is showing action? Played. What were we playing? Tag at recess. Number 3. Miss Hines threw the ball at me. What was Miss Hines doing? Throwing. What did she throw? The ball. In past tense, she threw. The verb in this sentence is threw. Number 4. The class watches the morning announcements. What is the class doing in the morning? They watch. The verb in this sentence is watches. What are they watching? The morning announcements. If you will notice something, these have a different spelling than what we are used to when we see a verb in past, present, or future. Keep this in mind as we study further into our lesson today. When we look at tense, it means it refers to time. The 3 different tenses of verbs are past, present, and future. When we look at past tense, it refers to something that has already happened in the past. An example that follows is, she ate the candy bar. When we talk about present tense, it refers to something that is happening right now. She eats a candy bar. When we talk about future tense, it refers to something that is going to happen. She will eat a candy bar. Think of these differences between the different kinds of tenses as we continue through our lesson. Now we're going to look at what is a regular verb. A regular verb is a word that shows action. To make them past tense, just add ed or d at the end. Now, to make regular verbs future tense, we will add the word will in front of the verb. Now we are going to look at some examples of the different types of regular verbs in past, present, and future tense. One verb we are going to look at is jump. We know this verb very well. An example of it in past tense form in a sentence: I jumped rope. We added ed. In present tense, I jump rope. It just stays the same. In future tense, I will jump rope, which means I plan on doing it in the future. The next one we have is taste. Past tense, which means it happened in the past. I tasted cotton candy. I already tasted it. It happened in the past. In present tense, I taste cotton candy. It's happening right now. In the future, I will taste cotton candy, which means it is something I'm planning to do in the future. Do you notice some similarities between the two of them? For the past tense between both jump and taste, I added something to the end of them. To jump, I added ed to make it past tense. To taste, since it already has an e at the end of it, I just had to add a d. For future tense, though, I added the word will in front of my verbs. Do you notice these similarities? Now we're going to look at what it means to be an irregular verb. Just like a regular verb, an irregular verb shows action. But the difference is, to make an irregular verb past tense, we must change the word. To make an irregular verb future tense, we will add the word will in front of the present tense form of the verb. Do you notice some similarities? Now, let's look at some examples to see what we find when we look at irregular verbs. Now, let's look at some examples of irregular verbs. Our first verb we're going to look at is eat. An example of the word eat in past tense form in a sentence is I ate lunch. Notice that the spelling changed from eat to ate. In present tense, I eat lunch. Notice that the spelling does not change for present tense. Future tense, I will eat lunch. The spelling did not change, but we did add a word. We add the word will in front of our verb. Our next irregular verb, write. In past tense, I wrote my name. Notice that the spelling changes from write to wrote. In present tense form, I write my name. The spelling does not change when we are doing present tense. In future tense, I will write my name. The spelling does not change, but we do add a word. We add the word will before the verb write. Sing. We sang along. Notice that the spelling changes in past tense from sing to sang. Present tense, we sing along. Notice that the spelling does not change. Future tense, we will sing along. The spelling did not change, but we did add the word will in front of it. Now let's practice again. Now, let's look back at our paper. Can you tell me which ones were being used as irregular verbs and which ones were regular verbs? Let's look back. Number 1, JJ ate the slice of cake. We knew the word ate was our verb. Is it regular or irregular? Irregular. We changed the spelling. Number 2, we played tag at recess. We know that our verb is played. Is it regular or irregular, and why? Regular. Play is still in there, but we only had to add ed. So it is a regular verb. Number 3, Mrs. Hines threw the ball at me. What was our verb again? Threw. Regular or irregular? Irregular. The word threw is past tense for the word throw. The spelling changed. Number 4. The class watches the morning announcements. Watches is our verb. Is it regular or irregular? Regular. The spelling did not change of the word watch. How did you do? Good job. Give yourself a pat on the back if you did well. Now let's look back. What is the difference between regular and irregular verbs? From our practice that we did this afternoon, we now know. We do know that both are verbs and they show action. For a regular verb, the spelling does not change when we look at the past tense form of the word. We add to it. You add ed or you add d. You only add d by itself if there is an e at the end of it, and you add ed when there is no e at the end of it. For irregular verbs in past tense, we change the spelling. Remember our examples, I ate cake and I eat cake. Remember that the spelling changes. Only for past tense. We're going to do more practice now, and we will continue to do it in our morning work over the next several days and throughout the year until you become more comfortable. Remember, if you have questions, raise your hand and we'll go over it again. Alright, boys and girls, now it's your turn to try. On your desk is a cutout of an angry bird. On the back of your angry bird, you're going to write 2 sentences. One sentence, you will use a regular verb. And for the second sentence, you will do an irregular verb. Remember, do your best work and use complete sentences. When you have completed writing these 2 sentences to your best ability, please raise your hand and I will come by to check it. If it is done correctly and with your best work, you may then color your angry bird. Once it is completed and graded, Ms. Jones will laminate them and hang them throughout the classroom so that we can see and remember regular verbs and irregular verbs. Remember, if you have any questions, always ask. I'm here to help. Now, go create your own angry bird.